Hello there, geographers, and welcome back to the Mr. Sinn channel. Today we are going to talk about different factors that challenge a state's sovereignty. As always, if you find value in this video, consider subscribing. Now, one of the first challenges a state may face is devolution, a concept we've talked about in many of our previous videos. Remember, devolution is about the transfer of power from a national government to a regional government. This change in power can sometimes result in a state breaking up into multiple smaller states, or the state may remain whole and just see some of its power shift from the national government to its regional government. If you need more examples of devolution and how it impacts different states and people around the world, go back and watch my last topic review video. So we can see that states that experience devolution often may see their sovereignty challenged. National governments lose power and have to cooperate more with regional governments, which may limit the national government's ability to make decisions. Sometimes shifting power from the national government to a regional government is simply not enough, and a state may disintegrate. This means that the state will break up into smaller parts. Essentially, the state ceases to exist in its current form, and new states are created. For example, we could look at Sudan and South Sudan. Originally, these two countries were one. However, in 2011, a referendum was held, and South Sudan became officially its own country. We could also look at the former Soviet Union, which saw challenges to its sovereignty throughout its existence. Once the Soviet Union fell, the state disintegrated and split into 15 independent sovereign states. Now, when looking at the world today, we can see the impact that advancements in technology and communication have had on states and their sovereignty. As technology continues to advance, it becomes easier for people to share information, connect with others, and influence different people and places. All of which creates opportunities for states, but can also challenge a state. People can now communicate with other individuals, businesses, and states all over the world, which has led to the creation of new products, jobs, innovations, the sharing of ideas between different people, the formation of global supply chains, and the rise of democratization. But has also created new challenges for governments who seek to protect and maintain control over their state. For example, many countries today have an economy that is dependent on oil and natural gas, which are commodities that are traded in the global market. This allows countries to get the best price for these resources, which helps keep prices low, but at the same time makes countries dependent on other states who have oil and natural gas, which may influence a country's political decisions and limit their sovereignty. They may not be able to implement certain policies for their state or implement certain global policies out of fear of retaliation from other states that they depend on for energy. These calculated decisions happen on a daily basis. We can see an example of this play out with Europe and Russia. When Russia invaded Ukraine, many countries wanted to impose harsh sanctions on Russia. However, many European countries depended on Russia for natural gas. Russia sells gas to Europe via pipeline. Europe relies on it to heat its buildings, power its industries, and generate electricity. This interdependent relationship between Russia and Europe has limited the West from imposing harsher sanctions on Russia than it might have otherwise. Now, this situation is ever evolving, and there are many harsh sanctions in place against Russia as of the making of this video. But hopefully you can see how this connected world impacts the decisions of different states. No longer can a state make a decision in isolation. Now they must consider other global factors, which may limit their sovereignty as they may be limited in what decisions they can make. Shifting gears back to technology and its impact on a state's sovereignty, we can see how social media and the internet can lead to devolution, disintegration of a state, or simply create challenges for a state. People, organizations, and other states can now share information around the world instantly, which allows people and states the ability to disseminate false information, which could be used to influence a state's domestic affairs and way of life, thus challenging a state's government. But we can also see technology be used by citizens in a way to highlight government corruption and abuse, and better understand how people around the world live. This access to more information can reduce the control an autocratic government has over its citizens, as people realize what their government is doing and what life could be like. For example, during the Arab Springs, the world saw revolutions across northern Africa and the Middle East. People used Facebook and Twitter to share information on the government and its corruption and abuse, all of which led to the downfall of different dictators such as Mubarak in Egypt or Gaddafi in Libya. The internet allowed for people to not only see what the government was doing, but also allowed for people to organize, plan, and mobilize to protest and challenge the government. Here, technology empowered citizens to have a more active role in their state and led led to democratization across the state. Now, some autocratic governments seek to protect their authority by limiting access to information in their country. These countries censor social media platforms, restrict internet access, and try to control what information their citizens can see. However, we can see that that is becoming harder and harder to do, such as the case in Iran, where as of December 26, 2022, there are reports now of over 100 Starlink accounts being active in the country. Earlier this year, Elon Musk tweeted that he would start activating Starlink to help support the Iranian people, with the goal being to provide them greater access to digital communications to counter the Iranian government's censorship, all of which impacts the state's sovereignty as it allows for more information to enter the state, which may undermine the government and help support the protesters in the state. Now, it isn't just advancements in technology and communication that can challenge a state's sovereignty. Thanks to globalization, our world has become more connected than ever before, resulting in businesses to operate around the world, states to create treaties with other states, and supranational organizations to form. A supranational organization is an alliance which consists of multiple countries, traditionally 3 or more, that work together to achieve common goals or address specific issues or challenges that impact states. Oftentimes, these goals and challenges revolve around political aspirations, economic factors, the environment, or the military. When states join a supranational organization, they often have to follow certain rules and meet certain criteria, which means they give up some of their sovereignty. Political supranational organizations often seek to maintain political stability in a region or around the world. Examples of supranational organizations that revolve around political goals or military goals could be the United Nations, which seeks to maintain peace and stability around the world. Or we could look at the African Union, which is made up of 55 different African states, seeking to promote stability across Africa and eradicate all forms of colonialism in Africa. An example of a supranational organization that would have a focus on military would be the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which was created to counter the diffusion of communism and the Soviet Union. Today, it exists both as a political and military alliance, seeking to provide security to its members. States that are part of NATO gain security and protection, but they also agree to support other countries in the organization if they are attacked. As stated in Article 5 of NATO, which states a collective defense means that an attack against one ally is considered an attack against all allies. This takes some of a state's ability to make decisions out of its hands and puts it into the hands of the organization. So states that are part of NATO may have to send troops into a conflict that they themselves are not directly involved in. For example, after 9/11, Article 5 was invoked, which was the first time Article 5 was ever invoked, leading to counterterrorism operations to occur with the help of all NATO members. So now that we talked about political and military alliances, let's shift gears and look at economic organizations. Here we have groups that are created with the goal of promoting economic prosperity. For example, the European Union is both political and economic. It's an organization that helps countries in the European Union compete with countries around the world. Another economic supranational organization would be the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which strives to accelerate economic growth, social progress, and cultural development in the region. Countries that join an economic supranational organization may have to implement common regulations and laws on the production of goods and services, thus removing those decisions from the individual state. For example, states may lose some control over their trading practices, as they might have to reduce or remove different tariffs, which will allow for trade to become cheaper between countries and allow for more specialization to occur. The reason why we see states willing to join these economic supranational organizations is because even though they lose some of their economic sovereignty and policy decisions, it allows them to become more competitive in the global market, which ultimately makes their country better off. Now, the last supranational organizations that we have are environmental organizations, which seek to achieve specific goals that protect the world's natural resources, such as the Arctic Council, which is the leading intergovernmental forum promoting cooperation, coordination, and interaction among the Arctic states, Arctic indigenous people, and other Arctic inhabitants on common Arctic issues, in particular on the issues of sustainable development and environmental protection in the Arctic. When countries join supranational organizations, they give up control over different aspects of their sovereignty. They have to follow certain rules and regulations set by the organizations and often have to pay dues. However, countries join these organizations because they believe it will make them stronger in the long run. Political and military alliances increase political stability and offer protection from other states. Economic organizations allow for states states to compete in the global market and help grow a state's economy. And environmental organizations help make the world and states a cleaner and better place to live. All right, geographers, you made it through another topic review video. Now you know the drill. The time has come to practice and to answer the questions on the screen. Once you're done, check your answers in the comment section down below to see if you got them right. Also, don't forget, if you found value in this video, consider subscribing and check out my ultimate review packet for more help with your AP Human Geography studies. It's a great resource that'll help you get an A in your class and a 5 on that national exam. As always, I'm Mr. Sinn. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time online.